information into the hands of parents and teachers. For the purpose of diffusing this information, this little book has been prepared under the direction of the Food Administration. By following the suggestions for food conservation herein contained, everyone can render his country an important war service. I am sure that all will be glad to do this. Herbert Hoover. Chapter 1. The Wheat Situation. Wheat is as much a war necessity as ammunition. Wheat is a war weapon. To produce it and distribute it where it is needed and in sufficient quantities is the most serious food problem of the Allied world. The continent of Europe, with her devastated fields, can raise but a small fraction of the wheat she needs, and ships are so few that she cannot import it from many of the usual sources. Not one of the warring European countries has escaped serious suffering, and the neutral countries have suffered with them. The world's supply of wheat. France, always an agricultural nation, was the most nearly self-sustaining of the Western Allies. Now 1/3 of her wheat fields are barren. Thousands of her acres have been taken by the enemy or are in no man's land. Much of the land that has been fought over these past 4 years is now hopeless for farming, and will be for years to come. Even the territory still under cultivation cannot be expected to yield large returns, for laborers, tools, and fertilizers are lacking. The men who have left the fields to fight have been replaced chiefly by women, children, and old men, while furloughed soldiers at times help to bring in the crops. To get adequate return from the soil which has been tilled for centuries, tons of fertilizer are necessary. Fertilizers are an absolute necessity, and nitrates, one of the most important of them, can no longer be imported from Chile. The work animals have been driven off by the enemy or slaughtered for want of food, and mechanics are lacking to repair and replace the worn-out farm machinery. As a result of this, in 1917, France raised only enough wheat to supply 40% of her need, instead of 90% as in the pre-war years. In England, the situation is not much better. Unlike France, England has always imported far more wheat than she raised. But now, through vigorous effort, she alone of all the European countries has increased her cereal production, so that it has actually been doubled. Being free from the devastation of war at home, she has been able to convert the great lawns of her parks and country estates into grain fields. English women of all classes, an army of 500,000, are working on the land. At the same time, the consumption of wheat has been reduced. Even yet, however, the home-grown supply in England is only 1/4 of the wheat required. In Belgium the devastation is so complete that the women, children, and old people left there would die of famine if food were not sent to them. 2.5 million Belgians daily stand in line waiting for food to be doled out to them. The United States must supply 3/4 of the wheat contained in their meager bread ration. In Italy, too, the condition is serious, for she produces far less than she needs, despite every effort of her government to stimulate production. Germany and Austria-Hungary have not escaped universal suffering from lack of wheat. Germany before the war was a wheat importing country, and Austria-Hungary was able to supply herself with wheat, but had none to export. Their war crops have been below normal, and even the wheat taken from conquered territory has not been sufficient to prevent severe shortage, resulting in bread riots in industrial centers. The imports of wheat into both the Allied and enemy European countries, to supplement the wheat of their own raising, came in peace times from 7 countries: Russia, Roumania, Australia, the United States, Canada, Argentina, and India. Most of these have now failed as a source of supply. Russia and Roumania were the great wheat bins of Europe. They produced as much wheat as the United States, and sometimes more, and they were always able to make up or nearly make up the deficiencies of Western Europe. Russia and Roumania are now themselves on the verge of famine. Even before their own situation